Okay. Hey everyone, welcome to the SIG-Auth community call. Today is Jan 14, 2026, the first meeting for the year. This call falls under CNCF Code of Conduct. It'll be recorded and published to YouTube. Okay. So the first item on the agenda is 136 KEP planning. Uh, I think the release is planned right before KubeCon, so I think like code freeze around mid-March, and enhancements freeze is second week of Feb. So some of us spent time looking at this just to update it, add a 136 section, and add details on what we think might be the state. So we can review this together and decide what gaps we're tracking for the 136 release. Okay, I will go through it. The first one is structured auth. So we took the last list and then added more here. But yeah, structured auth, there is no planned work for 136. This already GA'd. We did some metrics work in last release, and we don't plan to do anything in this release. So it's going to just stay as is, no work for distributed claims or anything. Next one is Cluster Trust Bundle. It's been beta for the last two releases, and I think we want to keep it in beta in 136 as well because pod certs reached beta in last release. And maybe we want to graduate both of it to GA together. So that would be next release. What do folks think?
I think matching pod certs makes sense. Maybe we could group this with the pod certs stuff and like whatever we do with that, we can connect to this. I think Tahir was on the call. Do you want to talk through thoughts about pod cert stuff for 136?
Yeah, I think so. What we have, I think we can take to GA. I think there's maybe an open question about if we want to add a PKCS 10 CSR, either in addition to or replacing the proof of possession field. For some CA implementations like Vault, need that PKCS 10 CSR in order to issue a certificate, even if they override or ignore every field that's in it. So that's the one. And then I think there's maybe related to that, I think Standa was taking a look at whether or not we could implement a signer based on like Acme protocol. And to do that, at least for like Let's Encrypt, certain things need to appear within the PKCS 10 CSR. So I think we need to discuss maybe if there is some way for a signer to declare what kubelet should put in that CSR. But if there's any risk of that, like my personal preference is focus on GA, and then this could be done in a backwards compatible way later on. But we should at least talk it through, I think.
Yeah, figuring out the next likely if like the first couple interoperability types of consumers, like Vault and something that does Acme Let's Encrypt stuff, bump into issues that we have to reshape stuff for. Like a couple really concrete, real integrations seem like a really good thing to try to run this through. Maybe try to do that early, and if we need a different field or then we can figure out, do we want to do a second beta and like or like add a field while in beta and say like now we have two fields and we imagine collapsing the first one onto the second one. Like we can figure out what we want to do, but let's try to actually integrate a couple things or figure out how we would integrate a couple things.
Okay.
And that can inform like how differently shaped it would be, and we can figure out if we want to proceed with what we have and augment or adjust and collapse onto the new thing while in beta that addresses both. Right. So work for pod certificate, primarily work for pod certificates in 136. And if we do it early enough, if the exploration is early enough, we could talk about promotion. But if we don't do it early enough, then we'll probably just keep working in beta and see where we land in beta for 136.
Okay. I mean,
I think we need to finish the investigation pretty conclusively and know that the shape, we're happy with the current shape in order to say, yep, we're going to go to GA. And maybe we could do that in the next couple of weeks. We'll see. If we work really quick. But I don't know. All right.
Okay. So the next two are image pool KEPs. So the first one is ensure image pools. It reached beta in 135. So I think the plan is to keep it beta in 136 as well. So there's no planned work for it.
Yeah, it's in beta and enabled by default. So this is like, I expect if nobody says anything about it as 136 like or 135 rolls out to production and gets broad use, that's like a wonderful endorsement of the feature. So yeah, we'll see over the next few months.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then this one reached beta in 134, but last release, because ensure image pools reached beta, we want to keep this in sync so we can make both of this go GA together in 137.
Okay.
So there's no work for that one.
Do we know if that requires work to adopt? Do we know if people are trying it? Are we like engaging folks to try to flush out use and get experience reports?
Yeah, so we actually got early feedback, even in alpha, like from Cloudsmith. So we updated the KEP with details with their provider.
Okay.
And the feedback was mostly good. And then there have been multiple threads on Slack about other registries. I think Harbor was one. They had questions. And we have been looking at it from the Azure perspective as well in terms of integrating it.
Cool. Yeah, sticking in beta for 136 sounds good. I would really encourage trying to exercise it and then bring reports back as much as possible.
That's good. Next one is external signing for SA tokens.
So GKE has this integrated. It's you can spin up GKE clusters that exercise this. I think Micah had mentioned that AWS did as well. So like at this point, I would actually be fine with declaring what we currently have as GA. Like the surface area is quite constrained, and the API is exactly the inputs and outputs we need, and we've scale tested it, and I think AWS has as well. Like I think it'd be fine to graduate this to GA, but so I think Harshal had opened a pull request to propose taking it to GA, and we're kind of waiting on Micah to chime in and like officially act it from an AWS use perspective. So
okay. Okay, so that graduate to GA. Then this one, fine grained kubelet API ODZ. This was beta in 133, so it should be G8 in 136.
Yeah, we should take that to GA. And then we should also do evangelism to like find places that people are still granting the broad kubelet permissions to things that just want like kubelet metrics or something, and tell them to use the fine-grained stuff if they're going to clusters that have it enabled. So I don't think there's any entry work, but it's like a scan the internet for bad practices and go help people recognize that there are better options available to them. And Vinayak was planning to do that, both of those things, do the promotion and do some of the scanning, alerting, evangelization.
GA in 136. And then handling undecryptable resources, I think, is planning for beta in 136. I saw some open PRs from Christoph.
Yeah, he had come and we talked through a couple things in the last meeting sometime in December. I think there may have been some questions about like test coverage, like some tests for some different scenarios, but I don't think we identified more changes that were needed. It was mostly testing and graduation mechanics. I think.
I remember too.
Okay.
Yeah. This one is DRA admin access KEP. I think the one that Rita was working on. This has been beta for I think 2 releases now, and so it's enabled. Maybe we graduate this to GA in 136.
Yeah, it's very constrained. I was actually fine with it graduating in 135, and we're like, we'll wait for more people to use it. I don't know if we're going to get more people using it, but it's a super constrained service area.
Sounds good. And then kubelet serving cert validation. So this didn't go in 135, and I don't think there's any work planned in 136 either.
Yeah, so I wasn't planning on working on it. I don't think I'll have time. So I know what the next step is. I just haven't had time to go try to do it.
In the same place, not in the same place, in the same area around like client wiring and TLS crazy injection stuff. There's an open pull request to try to support rotation of CA files in Client Go, and it touches some of the same areas. I don't really think that's like KEP level. We've added rotation support for other files on disk more as like a bug fix-ish type of change. But it does touch some of those same areas. I would probably like Mo to help me squint at the change. So I don't know that it rises to the level of a KEP, but it could use like a half day of review.
Yeah, I can do that. So that one's fine.
Okay. I'll tag you into that, and maybe we could set something up in the next week or so.
The kubeRC allow list for client Go credential plugins. This was beta in 135.
Yes, I don't think it. So the KEP update is merged. I don't think it. As far as I know, it doesn't need a KEP update for the kubeRC set subcommand. And I believe this is more under the purview of SIG-CLI than SIG-Auth anyway, at this point, because the auth piece of it has already been handled.
Yeah.
And kubeRC stat would just be modifying the kubeRC file.
Yeah. The two things we identified, like the set support and making the field name file match.
Matching.
I apologize for that. I'm sorry. There's too many.
That's right. And so that would require does that kind of thing require bring the KEP in line with reality? Like, should I update the KEP as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, when we make changes, we update the KEP to reflect reality, but I think both of those are fine to do while beta.
Yes, the changing the field name from name to command, because is an API change, definitely would be under the purview of SIG-Auth. So And so yes, that needs to update. Sorry, what was that, Jordan?
I'm happy to review that. It'll be a small change,
Great.
and you can sign me up for that.
Jordan, are you thinking like a beta too? Like, are you gonna change the field name without breaking stuff?
I mean, it's a config field, so it's read only. We don't have to round trip it. I would probably add both and only let you set one, and then on the internal version, like pick the field name we want to end up with, and in beta have both, and you can only set one. And because we don't have to round trip, it simplifies the. It's not like the REST APIs where we ended up with like service account and service account name, and the interactions are super weird between them on round trip. So I would go ahead and make the internal struct match the name we want, make the external struct support both, and in validation only let you set one, or don't let you set them to mismatched things. Anyway, we can work through it in the implementation, but I would stage as much as you can, as early as you can.
I think
So
the
that the
question
promotion to
Jordan,
B1
is when will you remove support for name?
when we do the bump to the V1 type.
Okay.
And the V1 type will only have the command field that we want.
Sounds good to me.
Next one is constraint impersonation. That's going to beta in 136.
Yeah, sorry, I misread that as conditional authorization. I was like, beta in 136. What? Sorry. No.
Okay. Does that sound about right to you, Jordan? Since you did the review with me on it, I mean, it's not like it's just. I think the only thing left is go add more tests and stuff, and just make sure the tests are good. I mean,
that seems fine to me. There's nothing else that we know of that is needed. So there was an opportunity for people to try it. I don't know how many people actually tried it, but the test coverage and the refactoring was very thorough and disciplined. So I'm comfortable trying to go to beta with no changes, basically.
over.
The next one was the KEP that we started beta in 135, and I think we just leave it in beta in 136, so like other drivers can adopt it. I'm already doing this in Secret Store.
I mean, it was just a new field and a plumbing change, right? Like, is there a reason not to promote that to GA? Like on the Kubernetes side, we're not gonna. It's a Boolean and like a plumbing change. We're not gonna. I can't imagine we would change anything about this feature.
Okay, yeah, I think then it's fine. Like I was just following the usual 2 beta 1 GA, but
yeah, the surface area on this is so small. I really can't imagine any change we would make here. As long as we have at least like evidence of successful adoption, like it's pretty scoped, and if it's adopted and has worked, then I think we should just graduate it.
Okay, I can. Okay, and then I think we had conditional Aussie maybe down, but I think
it was downwards. So I just copy pasted it upwards, but I didn't. It shows up as a new change. Anyways, KEP is ready for review. Waiting for that.
Yeah, I think we had it down because this was not implementable yet. This section is just implementable.
Anyways,
I think giving it dedicated review time is the next step. It would probably be helpful to maybe set up like a recurring review slot so we can work through stuff and you can feed that back in until we get it to a point where it's implementable. I'm up for doing that. I haven't looked at it much since KubeCon. I saw some of the comments going by, but I haven't looked at it much since KubeCon. But I'd be up for like a recurring weekly review slot on this to keep hammering through it. Maybe we could get it implementable by I can't freeze. We could try. But at least getting like a recurring attention update cycle going to make progress on it. You can count me in.
That sounds good. David proposes Wednesday morning, 10 a.m. That works for me.
Yep, same here.
Anyone else, Mo?
Everyone should get on at 10 a.m. their local time
I was
on
gonna
Wednesday.
say which time zone?
Eastern.
Eastern is the real time zone.
Sure,
No one's held the bridge.
but I don't think that's Lucas's time zone. So
Eastern Poland, right? Like
yeah, almost Eastern Sweden maybe because it's Finland. So yeah.
okay, so you guys want to take a 10 a.m. slot on Wednesdays?
It's 7 a.m. for me.
I mean, you're in Texas right now, Anish, so it's not 7 a.m. right now.
Yeah, let's spin that up, and maybe we can try to do a first pass ahead of next week's, since it's kind of in a ready to review state. So
yeah.
A little pre-work before then, and try to hit the ground running next week.
That sounds good.
What are we hoping to accomplish within 136?
Having an alpha that could be merged. I think like the proof concepts that I had didn't feel like super far off, but of course, maybe unless there's something we didn't catch based on the, for example, discussions at KubeCon and stuff. If there's something that arises, then of course, maybe the biggest thing is kind of surface area between this and constrained impersonation. That would be good to hash out.
Yeah, I would like to see it make progress. I think implementable in the next 3 weeks might be a stretch. Maybe we'll get there. But I would like to make progress more than the look at it every month and a half.
Yeah, exactly.
So as long as we're making like strong progress, if what we end up with is like hashing out the design and getting an implementation in a branch during 136, I'd be okay with that. If we end up, answering all the questions and we think we can merge an alpha in 136, that'd be great. I wouldn't object, but we'll see how it goes over the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I was first thinking that maybe there would have been time to start the reviews in December, but yeah, it was holiday season is always it doesn't work. So yeah, sounds like a good plan.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe
do you want to put up that invite, Lucas, or
I can send it. Yeah. What was Mo saying?
I was just gonna, maybe I'm a little less optimistic. I was gonna just be happy if we could get a kept merged that we all agreed on as implementable. Because I don't know if the code's the actual hard part as much as figuring out what the code is supposed to do.
Yeah. Likewise, I think the same. But yeah, at least getting both are possible. But let's see how far we get.
Next one is DRA fine-grained access to resources. I think this is a cap Antonio had.
This is, I think there's like a pull request open for trying to do something similar for DRA. Wait, am I mixing up 2 different things?
There was some sub-resource thing as well, but it's just the same.
DRA thing where they were wanting to do a secondary authorization check. Maybe that's not this.
Yeah, I remember Antonio had something and he talked about it during KubeCon.
I thought this was the one that Antonio was working on.
This one is the issue. This one?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh. Hmm. It does not look like the one Antonio was working on.
Yeah, actually, I think I might.
Fine-grained authorization for resource claim status updates. That is
That is the one. Yeah.
I think this is the one Antonio was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a tweak to an existing DRA thing. That was the only thing that was on my radar. The other one wasn't even on my radar.
Yeah, I don't know what this one is then.
Yeah, I think when I put it in, I was thinking it's 4817, the
Okay.
one we all think is the one we're supposed to be doing. But this one seems to be stale, so I'm not even sure if anyone's actually working.
Yeah.
So
Let's move that out of the 136 list. That's not on my radar. Let's move in the review of the status update tweak that Antonio was working on. I linked the PR in Zoom. I'll throw it in the too. I just want to make sure we're not blocking them on like lack of review on a reasonable thing.
Right. Jordan's having. Okay. So those were the ones that were under implementable. And then the next section is new HasCap could be planned for 136. So we found this one cap, which is at proc mount option. This has been alpha since 112. I think they're targeting beta in 136. 24 releases.
I mean, to be fair, I think they did have a side quest on like user namespace support, which that's a big side quest.
Yeah, I think we added it here because this might require review, like because a lot could have changed in the last 24 releases. So we were like, maybe we want to make sure data is still valid. And we need kept reviewers.
Talk. I thought it already got promoted to beta.
In 135?
Yeah. Or
Any progress? So this didn't go in 135.
133.
Okay. Okay, I think the label was wrong then.
Yeah. I think it went to beta in 133. I don't know what's going on. Some of the pod security admission stuff might have landed in 135. I'm trying to remember.
I think the user namespace one graduated to GA in 135, I guess. So maybe they will graduate this now.
Okay. Yeah. I think they scoped it down to only apply to things that are running in user namespaces and already landed the bits that make pod security admission tolerate this for user namespace pods, which is the only time you can set this field. And so now they're just looking to graduate it along with user namespaces, which that doesn't seem like it requires much, if anything, from us.
Okay.
So I don't think we have to do anything. If they come asking, we can review whatever, but the pod security admission stuff did land. I reviewed that.
Okay. And then the needs kept designed for 136. So there's this one kept enable writable C groups for unprivileged containers, which is targeting alpha and 136.
Yeah, so the cap is I'm in review right now. It's 5475 is the pull request for that. So there is a cap, so it's no longer needs cap. And I believe it has an implementer. Cannot remember their name. But I plan on reviewing this work. Relevant to SIG-Auth because it's is related to the pod security standards, which SIG-Auth owns. Because they want unprivileged containers to be able to mount writable C groups. Containerd has a way of doing that, and the CRI would need to be updated to accommodate it before it can be communicated to Containerd. They want writable C groups.
Okay. So from like most of this is like Node, SIG Node inside.
Mostly Node, yes. Okay. It's just the SIG-Auth needs to provide a review.
Okay. So it's a new field, and we have to like give the thumbs up to say this, letting this new field be set to these values in these pod security profiles is like, that's reasonable. That matches how we treat those profiles. Yes. Okay. Does someone who has context on pod security admission and what those profile levels mean want to volunteer to be the sort of SIG-Auth, like, yes, this doesn't give host access, therefore it's reasonable to include in baseline. Yes, this doesn't weaken security boundaries, therefore it's reasonable to include in restricted. Basically say that on whenever they're asked.
Isn't that your job, Jordan?
I'm trying to have a replication level greater than 1 for things that other people can start to.
Okay, we'll ask Tim to come back.
I was gonna chime in and say I've looked at PSA type stuff for enablement on OpenShift with Krish in the past, so I have some background context. If I can lean on you for any questions that I might have, then I'm happy to take a look.
Yeah,
that's fine.
And I have a fair amount of experience with container runtime stuff. So if you have any questions, and Jordan doesn't respond in time, you can ping me.
Cool. Yeah, I'm happy to go on the model of like have people who have familiarity do a first pass, and then if there's questions or they need like a final sign off, like pull in David or Mo or I, someone who has all the context, for better or worse.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna I'll put something on the agenda maybe in 2 weeks, and in that time I'll take a good solid look at the proposed implementation and make sure I'm understanding precisely what's happening with the C groups.
Yeah,
and
for
the
a lot
hierarchy.
of where all the implementation lives down on the node. Like we really rely on the SIG node folks to tell us Like, how bad is this? Like, what's the worst case? Like, what is this doing? And is this giving syscall access or kernel access or host access? Like, well, I'll speak for myself. I often have no idea like what the implications of a thing are. So I really rely on the node folks to say like, oh yeah, this lets you escalate to the host, or no, this doesn't impact security in any way. And so then we're just sort of pattern matching their assessment of a thing to what our pod security and mission like profile intent is. So
Next one is manifest base.z via Q buyback. I think more at this one.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up mostly as a conversation starter, because I know we're planning on doing manifest-based admission in API machinery. And sort of for similar reasons, I've wanted the same mesh capability of granting access without having to go write a whole webhook. That cannot be observed or revoked from the Cube API.
basically ABAC, but good.
Yeah, and then I can also delete ABAC because that's the only thing it can do that RBAC cannot do.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is anyone opposed? I'm not necessarily saying I will do it soon. It's mostly just.
I think it's coherent with other things we're doing. I wouldn't say no if someone else showed up and did all the work and I didn't have to review anything and it was good. How about
You're
that?
gonna have to review it, Jordan, probably.
Ah.
Or David, one of you two.
Yeah, it's not on my list of priorities for 136, but
yeah,
I'm not to the direction or in principle.
I'm happy to discuss as well.
More dropping ABAC if we had something like manifest-based RBAC. But I don't care enough to actually go do a bunch of work to make that happen.
Lucas, what were you saying?
Just that, like, I'm happy to like be part of the discussions as well.
Oh, okay.
Once you do start them.
I think what Mo wants is for you to do all the work and then him to just sign on.
No. I can do the work, but then I can't say I'm gonna review it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Feel free to include me, and then whatever the role is, we'll figure out.
Is this in the list of like maybe someday, or is this in the list of like you're planning to do a thing for 136? I'm trying to just get a sense for.
No, I'm
someday.
thinking probably like 137 at the earliest.
Okay, let's try to move it down to the not planned for 136 section then, just to clarify stuff for observers, and maybe put like Mo's name by it as the instigator.
Next one is default authentication to admission on other webhooks. Peter, do you want to talk about it?
Was there someone actively driving this?
I think Peter and Ben have been looking at it.
Yeah, Peter and
Yeah.
Ben and I.
Peter may refer to himself as Peter. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes, we need a cap for this. We're still in the process of. Well, the next step is to create a like kind of design doc or just a document, kind of like summarizing what's been discussed so far and proposing a few alternatives for solutions. Ben and I will be doing that in the coming weeks. We'll target having it ready to look at by the next SIG-Auth meeting. And the plan is to have the KEP merged in 136, but not the implementation deferred till later, 137 perhaps.
Okay.
Prior to the holiday break, we had, I think, put a good amount of work into reviewing both of the previous KEPs, and I think we'd gotten to the point where we were saying, I'm getting an echo. I think we got to the point where we're going, okay, what would be a good direction? Should it be cert based or token based? And we hadn't really gotten through that discussion of the pros and cons. So
okay, I'm just trying to make sure that expectations for like reviewer bandwidth on a design match reality for what people who would be reviewing the design, like where they're planning to spend their time. So it sounds like you're working on a thing, but it doesn't need to land like in the next 3 weeks. So
No.
we can, okay. So
yeah, kept freeze probably isn't necessary because I don't think we're going to do work.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
The next one is a sub project. Like it's just in this list, so we can give an update. But me and Standa are going to look at graduating the project to beta in the next couple of months. This is not aligned with any of the Cube releases. It's just in. But once we have that, we'll have a retroactive KEP similar to how we did for the driver to basically document all the implementation details and issues.
Okay.
Plus is not in scope for 136. We
No, yeah,
mentioned
the conditional authorization and like there's a bunch of other stuff that's sort of in the same vein. Let's move that to the not planned for 136.
Yep. Okay, so I don't think we need to go through the not planned for 136 one. Yeah.
I mean, we can do a quick scan to make sure there's anything in there that shouldn't.
I will probably mention the server inserts for in-clusters for in-cluster services, which was already somewhat mentioned in the pod certs. I added a small update to the pod certs KEP. I opened a PR with it recently. I don't know if we want to do that in 136 or if you want to just have a KEP or if we want to do it at all. Yeah, it's just the one that I want to mention.
Personally, I want to I am super laser focused on getting this to GA so that I can actually use it in stuff. So I'd rather not, I think we need to look at the, what do you call it?
CSRs in yeah.
But I prefer to do anything else that's optional in I guess it would be an update to the same KEP maybe, but I want to make sure we're not hooking it to the GA-ness of it.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I wouldn't actually do the implementation. Maybe just might be worth looking at the KEP update to see if it makes sense. But yeah, I wouldn't do implementation in 136. Yeah.
Didn't someone, was it you, Mo, that made a suggestion about a kubelet server cert approver? Approver for that?
Yeah, but that's dependent on us tightening the verification.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my suggestion there is that old, long-standing, unfinished work we have around kubelet serving certificates that is in perma beta, disabled by default. I can't remember. But the gist of the idea was to make it so that we could make it. We could create a new signer within the cluster for this purpose, and I don't know if we or maybe we can reuse the existing one. But either way, if we can guarantee that it's got its own separated root, then if we just make the verification, just check the CN to match the kubelet name, then we can just ignore the host name altogether. So then we don't have to try to verify it in the signer, which is the thing that we can't do generically. So it'd be basically, if you're happy with your kubelet bootstrapping a client cert, then you can continue to bootstrap the trust off of that client cert into the serving cert. And then maybe everyone stops just turning the security off, because that's the default and people don't even notice. Yeah. But yeah, we need the hardening at the API server to kubelet side first, at least as a capability first.
Okay. Maybe we could move, I'm trying to just organize this. Maybe we could move the stuff where we're not planning to do anything out of the 136 section. Maybe, well, I don't know. We have a bunch of stuff in 136 that says no planned work for 136, which makes that list look really big. And then like half of it is, yeah, we're not doing anything. Anyway, we can organize later.
Okay.
That prereq is useful. So there's a prereq on that and need an auto. Well, okay.
I can try organizing this in a different way. Switching back to the agenda, so the next two are here, and I know we talked about it initially. So
Yeah, I don't know if we have more to cover. I'm just going to. So I've read through the Acme like RFC. I think I know what is needed to unblock Acme support. So I'm going to write a cap and then a little cap update and a proof of concept.
nothing there. Next one, I think it's Bryce.
Yeah. So I've been since our discussion on like token attenuation and stuff earlier in December, I've done a little bit more exploration on like Biscuit tokens and how you might be able to pass stuff around for authentication, authorization, and attenuation with it. So I've got a little like CLI tool for attenuating a Biscuit token in a way that could be like representative of how Kubernetes could do that, and then have it implemented as a webhook authenticator and authorizer that I can demo really quick if folks are interested. I've got kind of everything running locally, just to kind of show like what the Biscuit token looks like. But what I'm mostly interested in is trying to figure out what is kind of next on the set of stuff here, whether or not there's more questions that we need to kind of iron out before this is ready for potentially writing a KEP or two, depending on the actual mechanics that we land on for what does attenuation look like. But yeah, that's kind of where my head's at. If folks want me to share screen and do the little demo, I'm happy to. But also, I know we are kind of short on time, so I don't want to just do that and take up time if no one's really interested.
I think you're the last one. Would you rather do it? I don't know how long the demo is. Would you rather do it when we have time to like talk about it and ask questions sort of on the spot?
It would be really quick. I have everything kind of already set up.
Go for it. Well, yeah.
Let's see it.
If we can make you co-host. Make. Good grief.
If it's going to be a pain, we can just kind of discuss the points. There's also a link to a repo that kind of shows the steps that I would have taken in the demo anyway, so we can kind of like jump around through that as well. That's easy.
Now we have it.
You should be able to do it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Let's see. Okay, well, never mind. I don't think I've ever shared on Zoom before, so it wants me to like redo system settings in order to share. So I think that will require a Zoom client restart, so I will pass on that today.
All right, yeah, let's line that up for next time.
Yeah.
Get and talk through it.
Like I mentioned as well, I don't know if Anish, you were sharing the agenda doc. There is a link in the token attenuation brainstorming doc all the way towards the bottom to a repo. I can also copy that into the Zoom chat. But
This one.
yeah, so if you scroll down past like all the setup and stuff, that's just kind of doing some of the mechanics there. But generating a token, you generate a Biscuit key, generate a token. You can see like what is actually in the extras there is a special key that the authorizer will read that contains the actual Biscuit token. And so that will also be the case for like if you attenuate the Biscuit token and it has the different checks, that all the data log authorizer that runs as part of the webhook authorizer just uses that token to build the full chain for authorization, and then it appends the different like request data. So if you scroll down further, the demo here is like I create some critical deployments, pretend you're passing your token off to some agent that decides it needs to delete your critical deployment to resolve some issue on your cluster. But because you've attenuated your token using, in this case, I'm exporting it to an environment variable, but you attenuate the token saying, you can get and list pods in these namespaces. If you're using this token, it tries to get, if I try to get pods in all the namespaces, it says I can't do it because it's not in namespace 1, 2, or 3. If the AI tries to delete it, it gets rejected because it's not a get or a list verb that's done. Yeah, that's kind of the general flow. If I was able to share my screen, I could show actually like what is in the Biscuit tokens themselves. I think I have like some examples of like what it could kind of look like in terms of the attenuation blocks within that brainstorming doc. Um, but the idea is that the data log stuff is just like a fact-based authorizer thing. So you're just saying you have some things that can be like when the attenuation happens, you can add a check if this fact exists. And then the authorizer, whenever a request comes in, it can put those facts in the authorizer block that when authorization is performed, those checks can resolve successfully or they don't resolve successfully. If they don't resolve successfully, the authorization fails, and then you get a deny request from the authorizer. But some of the questions that I kind of had were more focused around Biscuit tokens or not. I think attenuation sounds valuable to folks, is what my general recollection is. The mechanics of doing that. Are Biscuit tokens and data log attenuation worth it? I had a brief chat offline with David where we were kind of talking about what does something like using data log versus I think descriptors, what does that look like? I have some general thoughts at the end of that brainstorming document that are just kind of high level. The Biscuit Go library that I was using, it looked like it's a little bit less maintained and up to date than something like the Biscuit Rust library. The people that wrote the spec seem more familiar with Rust than they are with Go. So I had to make some patches to the vendor code in order to get some stuff to work properly. So that's like a little bit concerning. But other than that, like my general consensus from in terms of alternatives for attenuation and stuff, it seems to be um, that biscuits are some of the more recommended things if you need to do attenuation today. I did a little bit more research on the JWT attenuation stuff, and people don't really recommend it if you can avoid it because you're leveraging the JOT spec in like really weird ways. and doing pretty non-standard things. But yeah, I'm curious on general thoughts as to like next steps. I know not a lot of time, so could be a discussion for another day. Um, but curious if it's worth continuing to look at to folks, stuff like that.
Trying to pack a lot into 2 minutes there.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
guess
it can be a later discussion. I'm fine with
Yeah.
that too.
one,
But
one of the things I would be interested in a larger deep dive is what does the user extra actually look like? Like one of the possible entry points for us is what would we like a user extra to look like? And then regardless of what authenticator is used, can you attenuate in that way? Pro con, what do the options look like? OpenShift has some prior art there already. And is
yeah,
actually
the user
scrapping an entire Biscuit attenuation with the data log in it the best way to do it? And I'm not sure that is.
It also resembles a little bit the conditions that for the conditional auth stuff, like roughly, not exactly, but similar depending on how you do it. So maybe good to talk through that as well.
Yeah, I do think that there's a lot of similarity there as well. Yeah, whether or not you stick the whole data log in there or not, I did that just for quick purposes, but I think you could vary what all of the data log stuff is just string facts. So you could easily just put those in as like attenuation block or attenuation checks and just have them be things that you inject yourself. But cool. So it sounds like there's a bit more discussion to be had. If folks that are interested can leave more thoughts about what they're interested in discussing so that I have some next steps I can follow up on, that'd be appreciated. Uh, yeah, thank you.
We don't have to discuss it now. It's fine later. I think one thing on my mind is what is not possible today through like a webhook authenticator per authorizer combo that this is trying to enable?
That's a good question. I don't know that there's necessarily something that makes it so that an authenticator and an authorizer can't do it. I think it's more so whether or not it's something that we think would be valuable natively, so that way you can have like kubectl can automatically attenuate based off a token. It does some sort of exchange. In theory, you could also have some sort of plugin, but
Isn't it the ability of a user to downscope permissions? Like right now, a normal user who can't go make service accounts and grant permissions to those service accounts and make roles and like make a bunch of stuff. A normal user can't like give attenuated access to a subset of their stuff.
No, what I'm saying is if you can write a custom authenticator and authorizer pair to do this, and possibly a kubectl client go plugin also, whatever if you want, is all of this accomplishable today out of tree?
Authenticator that would make these credentials that could be
Sure. I mean, yes, I'm talking about something that doesn't exist at the moment, but like,
yeah, I would expect so.
I mean, I imagine you could even have a webhook authenticator that exposes some sort of extra like pathing that you say exchange my job that I have for a resolved Biscuit token that you've signed. Cube API server knows how to talk to that authenticator because it's the token that it minted, and it's configured as a webhook, and it's able to validate its own. It's able to do its own identity mapping from that token that then includes any of the attenuations that the webhook authorizer, then does logic on. I don't think that there's anything that limits it from being out of tree other than a user then has to go and do all of the out of tree stuff. That also to me doesn't necessarily seem like an argument worthwhile of saying then it has to be in tree. I guess it just to me depends on the user model that you're looking for. But
Yeah. Yeah, I think generally speaking, just because it's harder out of tree doesn't necessarily justify it. I mean, the reason we support webhook authenticators and authorizers is so that people can extend the system in ways that we have not foreseen.
yeah, I mean, I think a totally valid path is keep it totally out of tree, that you do whatever you need to do there. It seems to work fine with the biscuits being used as bearer tokens because nothing else actually says, hey, this isn't an invalid JWT, so reject the request. Or this isn't a valid JWT, so reject the request. And then it eventually makes it to that authenticator anyway. But one of the things that I was thinking about is like generally when people use different styles of tokens, they do like a different authorizer or authorization header like signifier. Maybe there's something that could be done there to like, because I also know that webhook authenticators, you can only have one today. Uh, Maybe there's a path for you have multiple if you want to support custom things that will do the standard JWT stuff, but also like if you wanted to add this biscuit support, like you could go and you can add that, and that's a new another webhook authenticator. I don't know, just things thinking about. But if it was like an out of tree thing, because it all kind of stemmed from the SIG API machinery talk at KubeCon, is this something that seems like it would be reasonable as like a SIG sponsored sub project kind of thing for exploring like the AI interaction, like AI delegation interaction models with Cube?
Um, Maybe. I mean, I'm mostly just pointing out, right, that you're not really, if if the extension points exist, you're just not really limited by cube then, right? You can go experiment and try out different things and see if people are interested in using it. Just, as anything else, right? Uh I think I would personally want strong evidence for any like official sub project, like in particular, like if we look at Secret CSI driver, right? That had pretty significant adoption before we took it as an official SIG-Auth project.
Sure.
We have 5 minutes past time, but thank you, everyone. See you all again in 2 weeks.
Thanks, folks.
Well,